Have you ever watched an ad and just thought, wow, what is it that separates a good ad from one that wins all the awards and actually sticks with you? What's that secret sauce? Well, today we're going to crack the code on what makes an ad campaign not just good, but truly legendary.
And welcome to the Salon. This is where we break down the science and the art behind the kind of advertising that doesn't just sell stuff, but really changes the game.
So for this explainer, we're diving into the best of the best. We're getting our information straight from the Advertising Research Foundation, also known as the ARF. What we've done is analyze all the winners of their super prestigious David Ogilvy Awards over the last few years, from 2020 to 2024, to really figure out the science behind truly effective ads.
Which, of course, brings us right back to that million-dollar question. What is the secret ingredient? What's the one thing that all these grand champions have in common? Is it a massive budget, A-list celebrities, some catchy tune you can't get out of your head? Nope. The answer is actually something much, much deeper.
It turns out it all boils down to one single thing: a profound, game-changing consumer insight. And we're not just talking about data points here. We're talking about understanding people on a really fundamental level.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The ARF's own judging criteria spells it out plain and simple. The absolute key is, and I'm quoting here, the consumer insight, clearly described and defined, not just a statistic. That last part is so important. A winning campaign is built on a deep human truth, not just some number on a spreadsheet.
And after digging through all of these amazing case studies, we started seeing a pattern. In fact, we've identified 3 distinct types of these powerful insights that consistently lead to a win. So, let's break them down one by one.
Okay, our first big finding is this. The winning brands, they go way beyond just surface-level stuff like demographics. They actually decode the deep, underlying psychology of their audience. And I've got a brilliant example from Samsung to show you what I mean.
So picture this. Samsung has this incredible, futuristic new technology, these foldable phones, right? But there's a problem. The super loyal, die-hard Apple users, they just weren't making the switch. Samsung had to figure out why. What was the invisible wall they kept hitting? Well, the breakthrough insight they found was just fascinating. They realized that Apple and Samsung users are, psychologically speaking, wired completely differently. Apple users tend to be promotion-focused. They get excited by aspirational stories, by magic, by the idea of winning. Samsung's existing users, on the other hand, are more prevention-focused. They're practical, objective, and motivated by not losing out.
You see where this is going? This single insight changed everything. Samsung realized that their old marketing, which was all about specs and features, a very prevention message, was never going to win over that promotion-focused Apple crowd. So they completely flipped their strategy, shifting from the technical, the future unfolds, to the creative, inspiring, unfold your world.
And the result? I mean, it was absolutely astonishing. This one psychological shift worked so well that Samsung brought in 3 times more switchers from Apple than they had for any other product in their history. That, right there, is the power of decoding deep psychology.
All right, let's move on to our second big finding. It's not enough to understand psychology. The best brands also engage with culture, and the key word here is authentically. They don't just borrow from it, they actually contribute to it.
Let's talk about Old Spice. You know, a brand famous for its super funny, quirky ads. Well, they got a huge wake-up call. They did some deep research and discovered that despite their efforts, the brand just wasn't connecting with Black men. It wasn't seen as being for them.
The core insight was incredibly powerful and direct. The research found that Black men weren't seeing themselves or their culture fully represented. It also turned out they had higher standards for their products, wanting things like moisturizing benefits that they thought they could only get from women's products.
So what did Old Spice do? They listened. They really listened. They didn't just create a new ad, they took real, meaningful action. They relaunched their entire Fresher collection, upgrading it with ingredients like shea butter and scents like lavender to directly meet the needs this community was asking for.
And by engaging with the culture in a real way and responding with actual product innovation, they saw a huge business impact. Their household penetration shot up, growing by 7% among Black men and 2% among Asian Pacific American men as they started applying the same strategy. This leads us perfectly to our third and final key finding, and this might be the most powerful one. The most impactful brands don't just sell you something, they actively work to tear down the real-world barriers that their customers are facing.
A great example here is CVS Health.
Their challenge was enormous. How do you go from being just a drugstore on the corner to becoming a genuinely trusted health partner for women, especially when you know that women face so many hurdles just to put their own health first?
Through their research, they uncovered this really powerful insight centered on what they called societal barriers. And look, these aren't just minor annoyances. We're talking about deep-seated emotional, systemic, and societal issues that actively prevent women from getting the care they need and deserve.
So what did CVS do? They didn't just make a feel-good ad saying we care. They took concrete, tangible action. They started tackling the pink tax, they worked to get rid of the sales tax on menstrual products, and they highlighted their super accessible Minute Clinic services. They proved their commitment with deeds, not just words.
And this authentic, action-based approach absolutely worked. It led to a 10% increase in awareness for CVS's women's health services. It just goes to show, when you solve real problems for people, you build real trust and you grow your brand.
Okay, so we've looked at deep psychology, authentic culture, and real-world problems. Let's pull this all together. What are the big lessons we can all take away from these incredible award-winning campaigns? It really comes down to these 3 winning lessons. First, decode psychology. You've got to go deeper than who your customers are and understand why they do what they do. Second, engage culture. It's about genuine contribution, not just borrowing what's cool. And third, tackle real-world barriers. Become indispensable by solving genuine problems in people's lives. These 3 things, this is the foundation of advertising that doesn't just get noticed, but that actually works.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. It doesn't matter if you're in marketing or not. This applies to pretty much anything you're working on. What deep, unspoken human truth is just waiting to be uncovered in your world? What's the one insight that you could find that might just transform everything? Thanks for joining me.